Hello, everyone. A very good morning to everyone watching the stream from wherever you are. This is Sports Entertainment Weekly, and a very special episode of that because it's Sports Entertainment Weekly number one, your home for last week in the world of sports. I have with me VS and Dave, my fellow sports enthusiasts. Um,
Hello,
so, what do we
Chris.
have?
Uh,
Hey, Dave.
yeah,
Hi,
we have a
VS.
lot to cover, don't we?
All right, without further ado, let's get right into what we want to cover in this edition of CU1 SEW. CU. So that's a special treat for all the Ronaldo fans out there. Although none of us have anything to do with Ronaldo and spend most of our lives dissing him for one reason or another. Cool. We have a lot of interesting things to cover across cricket, football, and pro wrestling. So, quick rundown of what we are covering in this episode. Cricket, as all of you know, last week India versus Sri Lanka. It was one of the most one-sided, if not the, you know, sorry, it was simply one of the most one-sided contests in a final. I think that any of us would have seen. We'll take a look at that, and we have a bilateral series coming up between India and Australia, um, and then of course football. We'll go about recapping the league tables, the state of affairs in Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, etc. And of course, last week saw UCL Nights come back after a long break. Um, as Barca fans, me and Dave are particularly excited to cover this part of the section. One guy is looking away. Oh man, it's just sad discussing UCL Nights with the Chelsea fan. And a rapid roundup where we want to cover other major headlines from this week. And lastly, in pro wrestling, um, we all know WWE had this deal go through with Endeavor. We have done a special episode on that as well, which will get released tomorrow. But unfortunately, as is the case with any big acquisition and merger, that means a lot of roster cuts. So just as we were scheduling and uh, producing this episode, we literally got live updates of which talents have been let go. Some shocking names in there. We'll get to that. And business as usual. How was Raw and SmackDown like? So that is all there is. With that said, I will let Dave take the lead on what last week was all about in cricket.
Yeah, so cricket had an interesting week, let's just say. From an Indian fan perspective, a particularly good week because I personally expected the final to be much closer, but Mohammad Siraj turned up, didn't he? Like a proper I am him performance by Siraj there, uh, absolutely blowing away Sri Lankan batting order. At one point of time, I think he took like 4 wickets in 1 over, which was an incredible bowling performance in a batting friendly pitch.
Yep.
After his bowling performance, there was no coming back for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka got bowled out for 50. India chased it down in 6 overs. Nah, incredible final in a way, and a very good feeling as a Indian fan seeing India being back in form, properly firing on all cylinders this close to the World Cup.
Yep.
That was some crazy shit, man. Because I opened my snacks and I couldn't finish my snacks before Siraj finished Sri Lanka. That didn't feel like a final, to be honest. And I hardly watch any cricket. This was insane. To get 4 wickets in 1 over, that too in a final. It's bad for Sri Lanka. I mean, they hosted the tournament. It happened in their backyard, and this guy comes, he blows through the entire lineup, no holds
Yep.
barred, and puts a final out in what 30 minutes. So did not feel like a final, to be honest.
Yep. Paisa no Vasool.
Yeah, I was
Just
very
to add
tempted
on
to
to
bought tickets to that match, and I went there, and this happened.
Just to add on to what VS was saying, the performance by Siraj just underlines the fact that he is the most improved just most improved bowler across all formats in the last couple of years. He has been incredible in any format he plays. He has been on the money with pace and accuracy, line and length. Pretty brilliant, overall speaking. So good signs for Team India.
Yep.
I would make the case that there is no way India is getting defeated by any of the Asian countries unless like Pakistan batting has a really good day. Uh, I think the real challenges are going to be the Australian team, English team, New Zealand team, which is the sort of the Achilles heel for Indian cricket team in knockout tournaments.
Yep. All right. Moving on. So India versus Australia. I think one heads up is we are recording this episode midweek, which means the India versus Australia match is actually scheduled to happen on Thursday. But by the time this episode goes out, the match would have actually been already over. So we can't really talk from a perspective of what happened in the game, even though the episode will be out after the game. But quick look at what we have in store. First ODI, second and third. So 22nd. Okay, so the first one is 22nd September, Friday, and it's two teams that are coming into the game with very contrasting fortunes, right? So India were sluggish in the Asia Cups in certain games. Like they didn't set the stage on fire throughout the tournament, right? On the other hand, Australia was 2-0 up uh, away to South Africa, and then they went on to lose three games in a row for South Africa to steal the series from under their noses. As a Australia fan, that is not an ideal situation at all. So then looking at India and that Siraj performance, I'm not really sure how to feel about the series. Even though the very point of a series this close to a World Cup with real concern for injury is something that I don't understand.
Yeah,
Do you
so
think
from an Indian
series happening in India makes a difference? I mean, if it was happening in Australia, it would be some other ball game. But given that it's happening in India, I think it's a little bit more relaxed. If the series were to happen in Australia just before the World Cup, you would be seeing green pitches and paces going real fast. But over here, I think it's. I mean, I'm not saying it's any easier, but it's a little bit more relaxed, I think.
Cool.
Just adding on to what VS said, I can just flip the coin in a way and say that having a series this close to the World Cup risks injuries in the Indian camp and gives good practice to the Australian team just before the World Cup. So, if I were BCCI, I wouldn't have probably gone ahead with this series this close to the World Cup. But it's going to be a good test. I think this particular fixture is going to be played at some point of time in the knockout phases. Like it might be
Yeah.
semi-final, it might be final. Who knows? But this match is going to happen at that point. So this will give us a very good idea of what is at which level the two teams are.
True. True. Cool. So I think that pretty much brings an end to all the cricket updates, at least the major ones from the past week. And incidentally, we also have a lot to cover in both football and you know uh, pro wrestling. So, of course, football you have your usual league tables and UCL nights. Let's see what went down last week. First, of course, the PL table, match week 5. One of you want to take a stab at how you see things
Yeah,
shaping up?
man. No bloody surprises over there. Whom you expected to be topping the table is perched right at the top of the table. At this point, it just has become routine over the past, I don't know, 5 years. There's this team in Manchester Blue. They are there, they're good, and I think we discussed this once amongst ourselves. But yeah, they were the best team in football last season, won all the trophies that was put on the table. And sadly, if I may, from a Chelsea fan point of view, or just any team competing in EPL, these guys have gotten better. They have recruited well. They have replaced the outgoing signings well, and it's not surprising to see where they're sitting even at this earliest stage. And you can very well expect City to be leading the table, not just during the month of September, but for many months of the season to come. It's not a good sight, but yeah, that's what it is. The
Yes,
rest, Dave,
I,
I think Tottenham is surprising, right? Over
yeah.
there, second after losing Kane.
So that's what I want to touch about. So, what would you attribute? Of course, like Postecoglou, I hope I'm getting his name right. So he came in with a lot of hype, at least from the so-called knowledgeable football crowd, and so far he has lived up to the hype.
Just to continue from the point Chris is making, I'm a big fan of Big Ang. His Tottenham team played a game in pre-season against Barcelona. They lost that game, but I remember chatting with you guys during the game that they're playing well. They actually had proper patterns of play. It is well known in footballing circles that Postecoglou is a very good man manager, is a very good motivator, and you can see that in certain performances. Bissouma has suddenly burst into this scene and has become really good. He wasn't this good last season at all after his move from Brighton. He has become very good. You have Son looking more or less back to his best. The defense works well. They have made some very shrewd signings. The left back, I forgot his name. Maybe VS can clue me in here.
Destiny. His name is not
Huh?
something you should be forgetting. It's Destiny. You better not
Yeah,
forget that
it's
name.
yeah, it's destiny. He has been excellent as well. So uh, I wouldn't say it's beginner's luck. When good coaches come into teams and put their ideas in, and you can see it working, even if they immediately don't get results, you can see it working. And we saw the same with Mikel Arteta. We are seeing the same with Postecoglou. Maybe it has been a bit more sudden with Postecoglou, but yeah, it has
It's a
been
it's
good.
a
I don't think it's
foundation,
a
man. This guy, he's a coach with a vision. He has an idea. He knows exactly what he's doing. If you remember the first match Tottenham played this season, Emerson was starting at right back. He scored the goal for Tottenham, but he had a very terrible game. He did not have a good game. Postecoglou saw that, and despite the goal, he completely binned him. And ever since Pedro Porro has been starting, and he's been doing a good job over there. So the Postecoglou team, he is doing what was expected or predicted of him. He's doing exactly that. He's not surprising you in a good way, because people knew that he's going to be putting his fullbacks in the interior midfield spaces and ask his attackers to go wide. That's exactly how Tottenham are lining up. There is a structure. Players know their roles. It was very predictable what he was going to do, but he's delivering on the good predictions. If people bet on him, they are making some good money over there. But then I do expect them to eventually, through the course of the league, come a couple places down. They're not going to be finishing second this league season, basically because of the squad depth issue and lack of certain quality backup positions.
You,
But it's a good thing that Harry Kane is not there in that team, because you put Kane in there, and we're talking about serious team right there. So yeah, good luck, Kane, and
right.
goodbye.
So we are
I'm not missing.
still confident that Arsenal would end up finishing second, right? Unless any of you have any other names in mind. So I'm guessing it will be City again winning, and Arsenal have enough squad depth to, you know, just go toe to toe and sadly, tragically, fizzle out
Yeah,
towards the end of the season. That's how I see this
you're
playing
right,
out.
man. Squad depth wise, Arsenal have
Uh, cool.
really improved this
Yes.
season. I mean,
So we usually don't do this. So we know the format very well. Every Premier League table gets one slide, but we wanted to, treat you to something special. We didn't want you to, come to our own show, look at the league table, and still have no clue where your team
Oh,
is at.
I know what's
So,
coming, man. I know what's
so
coming.
I
I
pulled
know.
it. So we went all in on this. We pulled the big guns out. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, there's
It.
my club over there. What is it? 13, 14, 15.
Oh my God! It's at 14. And
See,
you.
these guys are actually where they should belong at this stage because this is a ragtag team. These are not players who play together. These are not. This team lacks chemistry. This team lacks proper structure. And I'm not blaming this on the coach. But from a transfer point of view, if you look at it, this is a team that won Champions League 3 years ago. That team has completely changed. Not one player has stayed, and this is a completely new set of players under a new coach. It's a bad assembly. It's a tactic that might or might not work long term. But given the situation, I'm not surprised that Chelsea are where they seem to be. They are, but I would say, and coming from a Chelsea fan, obviously it's going to sound like a fucking excuse, but this team has also suffered from terrible, terrible injuries because the key signing that was supposed to go into that team and bang in the goals, it was Christopher Nkunku. He came from Bundesliga as a league leading scorer despite having missed out almost 4 months of action due to injury. He comes to Chelsea and he's gone out injured. And then Carney Chukwuemeka, he replaces him, plays well in a couple games, and he is injured again. So this team, it has 11 players who are completely out and injured, and it's not surprising at this point. But if you look at the other guys above Chelsea, you will see a very, very traditional big powerhouse supposed to be team in Manchester United. And Dave, I'm very sure you have enjoyed the downfall as much as anybody. Care to comment?
Yeah, so I will make two very quick points here about one about Chelsea. I watched the match against Bournemouth, right? It was last week. I watched the entire match, and I think Chelsea have got the entire transfer strategy a bit backward, so to speak. Because when you are assembling a team and you have brought in a bunch of youngsters, you need certain experienced players who know how to win in a tough league like that to supplement that. Uh, because unless you have those players who know how to win, the transition for some of these young players from whatever leagues they're playing in to PL is going to be very difficult. So what Chelsea have done, instead of creating a squad with a good blend of experience and youth, they have
Yeah,
just put all youth in. So that can backfire
complete
in a
overhaul.
bad way because, yeah, that can backfire in a bad way because if Chelsea continue in the form they are continuing, these young players will never get the confidence to actually perform in that level because more they keep losing or drawing games, the pressure keeps increasing, the manager gets fired, it becomes sort of a vicious cycle. Uh, Coming to another pretty shit team in United, I have personally enjoyed watching them not do very well for a while now. They are still not doing well. They had a very bad game against Brighton. Brighton absolutely smashed them, I would say, and they didn't get close. Brighton essentially scored three goals. All three goals were the exact same goal. A midfield runner coming in, a cutback goal. Three times they scored the same goal and they didn't pick it up. So at this point, I'm not sure if Ten Hag's future is looking very bright.
I think it is as toxic a work environment as any in top level football these days. That Manchester United dressing room is not a place where you want to sit and have a nice time to yourself. I'm pretty sure that's not some place you feel like your mind is in the right space because they have been marred by controversy, and it is, I mean, it is a very common troll at this point, but it is true as well that they have issued more club statements than they have had wins this season. And now the coach is under a lot of pressure. He has to put
Dude,
more time supporting the players and coming up with excuses than actually sitting down at the talk board
okay,
and doing some
okay. Let's
tactics.
let's calm down. Your team has more players transferred than the number of points, let alone wins. You should be the last kettle calling the pot black. And with
Um,
that, we are moving on because if we are to discuss the downfall of Chelsea and Manchester United, that's gonna take a lot more than a few episodes, I would say. So let's take a look at other league tables. Yes, the La Liga table, something that like Dave and I could cry happy tears looking at the table. I know we are still second. I know Madrid continues to do their, voodoo black magic stuff to stay on top, at least for now. But we are absolutely loving the way we are playing. No complaints or whatsoever. The two new Joas coming in, so many question marks around their position, attitude issues, and everything. And based on the two games we have seen so far, it's safe to say that they're already like top three or five most important players for us into this season. They take it away.
Yeah, they're slotted in beautifully, haven't they? Like, I watched the league game against Betis, and Betis aren't a bad side. They're actually a pretty decent side. I know the league table now shows that they're 10th there, and squad is actually better than being 10th. They've ended up 6th or 7th last season. So they're actually quite a decent team, and you could see the confidence which players had. Felix slotting in perfectly his touches, his passing. Everything was excellent. Cancelo is the big upgrade, in my opinion. Barcelona desperately needed a right back, and Cancelo's positioning, his game awareness, his passing is elite, absolutely elite. He can overlap, he can underlap, he can come into the midfield. He has been everywhere. In the league game, Betis had no chance. They got smashed, absolutely smashed. I would also like to talk about Atletico getting crushed by Valencia. Valencia aren't a very good team. Peter Lim has absolutely gutted that club completely. But it was a shocker of a result. Valencia defeating Atletico Madrid 3-0 this early into the season. Atletico have a few issues and they need to deal with it quickly because Athletic Club, Girona, etc. are all doing really well.
Yeah, Atletico definitely does have a few issues, but talking about issues, I have an issue in the sense that you guys completely skipped mentioning the club that's perched right there on the top number one and started talking about Barca, Atletico, Real Betis, and then Valencia. We're
That's
not
what
going to
you get
ignore
for
Real
being
Madrid
Barca
being there,
fans.
right? After a perfect start to the season, you see, look at the table, like 4 games, 5 games, and 5 wins. It's a good start from Real Madrid. Not exactly how the fans hoped they would be playing, in the sense that they're not completely smashing teams and playing liquid footy all the way while doing it. But this is a team that has always known to get results, to put points on the table, to get the big wins when it matters, and they are doing exactly that. And if you have noticed, Ancelotti has so far transitioned away from the all-conquering midfield that they used to have. Cruz, Modric, Casemiro, that trio in the midfield, they had a set roles, they had a clear playing style, and Madrid, instead of replacing them pound for pound, they have gone ahead and replaced them in a very different but equally efficient way. They're now playing a diamond. They have Choumeni as the anchor at the back, and they have these really two mobile, all-action midfielders in Fede Valverde and the cool-looking French guy. What's his name? Kamavinga. Yeah, Kamavinga flanking Choumeni, and the transfer. They have always done big transfers, and the guy. Let's talk about him, Jude Bellingham. He has come into this side from nowhere in Germany. He plays at the tip of their midfield, and he has scored in almost every match, I think. And he's earning a name for himself. He's looking like the player that they always wanted to buy. So, Barca fans, I know that you guys are having better times than what you were hoping to, but you have good competition this time.
Yep. Cool. I think both Barca and Real will probably come back and cover them in UCL. So we'll quickly move on. To be honest, not much happening like in Serie A or Bundesliga. So I'm just gonna quickly run down. So a couple of major results. So one is Inter Milan absolutely thrashing AC Milan 5-1. I, if I'm not mistaken, heading into it, it was supposed to be a close contest, or maybe
No,
Inter had the edge, but the
I
scoreline, I
would
don't think
disagree with
anybody
you.
expected.
I would disagree with you. I would say heading into the Milan derby, Inter had the clear edge because AC Milan, they have done terrible, absolutely terrible over the past couple months, not on the field but off it. This is a team that fell off from historic all-time great heights to absolute gutter lows after their golden generation, after the late early 2010s came to a conclusion. And in order to get back to the league winning positions and the Champions League, it took a long road. It was a long, long rebuild. And it was spearheaded by one man, the legend, Maldini. And they did not have the money. They did not spend lavishly on transfers. They got back to the top by smart scouting, by loaning out quality players from top sides, giving them minutes. And once they were integrated, they bought them into the squad for cheap. I mean, take a look at their left back and captain, Theo Hernandez. He was again a Real Madrid player whom they loaned in. They built a squad over some good 4 or 5 years, step by step, go to the top, won the league, are in CL, and were doing good. And then suddenly, Maldini is gone. Suddenly, the core group that headed their resurrection is gone. And they have been dabbling in transfers which are not exactly full of character, so to speak. So I would say that going into this fixture, I thought Inter were clear favorites, but yeah, I won't claim that I foresaw the thrashing that came afterwards. But Inter are the better team, and Inter being Serie A leaders, it's again not surprising. So a pretty predictable string of league leaders we are having across the top three leagues that we've discussed so far.
Yeah. So Bundesliga, um, Bayern drew against Leverkusen, and Dortmund have been struggling. So I think again we'll touch on that in the UCL section of the updates. Um, Other than that, at least I don't follow Bundesliga. I don't see
No,
any
no, there
major
is something. There is something
surprises.
we have to discuss, man. Leverkusen, Bayer Leverkusen, being on top above Bayern Munich, it might come as a surprising result or a surprising place for many fans. But I dare say that Leverkusen are going to be title contenders this season. There is a very minor, I would say even reasonable chance that they go all the way and lift the Bundesliga, because this team, they were down in the gutters. They were absolutely bad. I'm not using swear words, right? So they were terrible last season around. And Xabi Alonso, the Real Madrid legend, Bayern Munich player, he comes in, he does a total overhaul, he takes them back up. He did a real good job of escaping from the pitfalls. And this time around, he is not just there to manage the damage. He's there and he knows the targets. He's a very good coach. He's proven to be one of the more best young coaches available out there. And he has assembled a team that, when fully fit, I must say, when fully fit, because they don't have the same squad depth as Munich, when fully fit, might even be able to challenge Bayern Munich. Because if you look at them, they have some quality fullback options in Grimaldo and Frimpong. Attackers, they have what Hoffman, who's again a efficient attacker, and they have Florian Wirtz, one of the most exciting attacking talents out there. And even their striker, the Nigerian striker they bought from Belgian league, Victor Boniface, he is also delivering. And finally, in order to add some steel to the midfield, they got Granit Xhaka back from Arsenal. So we are talking about a serious team right there. And down the line, we are going to be revisiting our old episodes, and this is going to be a prediction that I won't live to regret. Leverkusen are going to
Damn,
be.
that's
Yeah,
some very strong
Xavi Alonso
takes.
is a good coach, isn't he? Like, I think we can be very sure in saying that after Ancelotti, he is the one who is the odds-on favorite to become the Real Madrid manager. I think Ancelotti will leave by next season,
He,
and it is a very
he's,
likely
he's the shout
situation
out.
that,
It is.
yeah,
I do think
it's a very
personally for
likely.
Alonso, he should just stay at Leverkusen for now, couple more years, get a Bundesliga win, add to his resume. develop completely as a coach and then make that big step up, because Madrid, it's not a small job. I don't think it's a good idea for Alonso to take up a Madrid job offer if it comes.
All right, so that leaves us with, yeah, we're not even gonna pretend like we, sorry, we're not gonna pretend like any of us care about the Uber Eats league. I would assume PSG is
Yeah.
winning some game.
I
Moving
think
on.
we got to be more polite than that, man.
I will just
That,
say that they lost to Nice
oh wow!
in the weekend, and that is probably the funniest result in the entire weekend. With
Such,
The only
Dembele
reason
missing
to
a
watch,
one-on-one and
oh
giving
yeah.
me flashbacks.
yeah.
In a good kind. Now I don't have to worry about Dembele missing chances. Do you know the sort of relaxation I felt when I saw Dembele miss a one-on-one for PSG
No, no,
against
no,
Nice? I was
no,
like,
Dembele.
great, gone.
I
This
know,
this
right? So we'll
this
be like,
absolute
oh
moron is gone from
no.
my club. I am happy, done. I don't
Nothing
have to
fun.
worry.
It was like him taking the shot, completely missing. No, 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 no. What are you doing? Oh, wait, what am I doing? He's not at my club anymore. Go ahead, be you. I don't care anymore. I think
Catharsis.
that's
It felt like
somehow,
catharsis.
that's 2 more minutes.
You guys are going
So,
to ball it at a slower rate now that Dembele is playing at PSG.
uh, I wish I could say no, but absolutely. I think our general spirit and modes have lifted up thanks to the cancer snake getting kicked out of our club. Yeah, that's 2 minutes more than what I would have liked to waste on Dembele. Moving on. So, UCL, I think for the first time in several years, Barca fans have looked forward to UCL. It was also coming on the back of the final thrashing of Real Betis that we covered earlier. So, couple of highlights here. So, Royal Antwerp, I didn't know you before this campaign. Thank you so much for being in our group. After years and years of humiliation, we absolutely deserve some, easy group matchup so we can at least get out of the group stage. And that is exactly, I hope we are on track to doing. Yes, Dave.
Yeah, just thanks, Royal Antwerp, for giving us that little bit of throwback. I saw Janssen, the former Tottenham striker, starting Richie Delap out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
All the
nice
viral,
throwback. Yeah, Alderweireld.
Yeah.
like
Nice,
nostalgia, I
very
was
nice.
Alderweireld, yeah.
Very nice throwbacks from the Tottenham, early Tottenham era as well. But Barca put on a very convincing performance, I would say. Like very smooth. You knew that Antwerp were probably going to get outplayed, but this was a proper thrashing. They didn't get near Barca at all. They didn't land a punch. And yeah, Antwerp isn't the most difficult team in this group. I think. The toughest test will be in the coming weeks when Barca go away to Porto. That's the toughest match in this group at least. And hopefully, the long may this form continue. Long may the Joaos keep
yeah,
balling. Long may Gavi keep balling. Gavi has been fantastic as well in the last two match days. Scored a brilliant goal in the UCL match as well. So yeah, hopefully for Chris
yeah.
and my mental health, let's hope that Barca keeps doing well.
So I
You
think
guys
the
won't
other
be missing
highlight,
Europa this time, right?
yeah, yeah, we are. That's for small clubs, man. For others in this chat,
See,
we
yeah,
are right where we belong.
also the fact that if Barca do not qualify from this group, Xavi is getting fired, and he knows that as well. I'm pretty sure.
That would be
I am
mission
not
impossible. The group that you have, if Savi fails to qualify, he shouldn't be fired. He should get
quit
deported
coaching.
from Spain altogether.
We would
I don't know, to
then the next
Somalia or
stream
something.
like VS would be in. None of us would be showing up if we don't manage to get out of this group. So other results from that fixture. So Milan and Newcastle. Newcastle was supposed to be having a much better season than what they do currently, given the transfer window they had. We'll probably get into that in detail sometime in the coming weeks. But one other highlight from UCL match week one, that is Tuesday night, was the last minute drama at Lazio. One of you guys want to touch on what actually went down?
It was
Uh,
just one moment, not the whole game. The whole game wasn't crazy or something. But when your goalkeeper, who wears number 4, scores in the 94th, 94, yes, scores in the 94th minute of the match to tie a damn game, uh, I wouldn't watch the match, but then I would regret having missed out on the tension where the
Yep,
goalkeeper goes ahead and
exactly.
scores a corner. That's something I would want my goalkeeper to do at some point. That's crazy thing. If you remember, the craziest goalkeeper goal that we saw in recent times that comes to my memory was when Liverpool were chasing the PL title and Alisson went up. I mean,
Oh yeah,
dude, he just scored. Yeah.
yeah. So
Uh,
this
So
was
just
kind of
saying, so the Barca Royal Antwerp match finished like a couple of minutes before the Lazio Atletico match, and I did switch it over and I saw that moment live. It was fantastic, and it is always
bad.
nice to see Atletico getting out-thugged by another club, especially by Maurizio Sarri. It
Cool.
feels nice when Atletico draws or loses by such shit tactics of sending a goalkeeper up and trying to play hoofball over there.
that's the kitchen sink, man. They got hit with the kitchen sink.
That brings us to Wednesday night. I think this is a game we all made the mistake of, actually watching and hoping that there would be some miracle. I do not know why we thought that. Like it's like, when will you learn? Of course, I'm referring to the Madrid game, against Union Berlin. As usual, nil-nil, 94th minute, out of nowhere, Bellingham comes, scores. They take home all the 3 points. They and our other Barca fan, they both tried their best to convince me that all is not rosy at Madrid. But you know how strongly I feel about this. It doesn't matter if it's not rosy. They've done it time and time again. They've been doing it for years now. So how does it matter if they are
See,
out of form? How does it matter if they don't have Benzema? If they're gonna keep
At this
winning
point,
games?
it's just habit, man. At this point, it's just habit to them. They're used to winning. So even on a bad day, even when their players are not firing on all cylinders, even when the stars are lining up against them, that's what they're used to. They cannot help it. That's why they won. There is no
see,
serious analysis that goes into it.
see.
Exactly.
I think Chris and VS here are watching a lot of lyricals for Madrid, and
Oh, I'm
I would like
frustrated.
to
I'm not
give a
happy about it.
I would like to give a different perspective here by saying that in modern football, in the football tournaments, the way it's all structured in this day and age, the crucial fact is squad depth. The bigger the squad you have, the better you have depth in your squad. You are going to have deeper runs in cup tournaments and league. I can tell you for a fact that Madrid have basically one Jude Bellingham injury away from oblivion, because the person they will have to replace Jude Bellingham with is Joselu. It's not like they have a proper replacement for Bellingham. It's not like they have a proper replacement for Carvajal, for Fran Garcia, for even Chouameni. Their first team squad is just that. Their first team squad is first team squad. Their second team squad won't get into a mid-table La Liga club, in my opinion. You have Brahim Diaz uh, and I do not know Nacho Fernandez and also. I
See, if you
am
want to
not
mention squad
personally.
depth, they bought Tony Cruz off the bench to win that match.
Yeah, Tony Cruz at the age of 36 or 37 is not the Tony Cruz we knew at the age of 28, right? So I
Not
am not.
36.
I am not very worried about Real Madrid because they're not winning convincingly. They're not creating a lot of chances. In fact, if I'm not wrong, Bellingham, apart from that one goal, had a pretty mediocre match. He got rated 6.4, around 6 6.5 in all of the
Come
major
on,
sites
man.
I saw. So
Dev, that's
my
exactly.
point entirely being that Real Madrid are winning just about. They do not have squad depth, and it's also Ancelotti factor. Ancelotti likes to keep his players. Like if one tactic is working and one person is working, he is going to run that one tactic and that one person into the ground. And there's a lot of matches coming up in this season. So I won't be that surprised if somewhere down the line the wheels fall off. It happened last season, might happen this season. Clasico is coming up. Let's wait and watch. I'm not going to go overboard and say ki Real are
It's
doing great because they clearly aren't.
Well, obviously, they're not doing great. They're winning. That's at the end of the day what matters, and they do a very good job of it.
exactly. Cool. I
They're
mean,
not
I
doing
would
well.
like to. I'm gonna continue to, live in the situation where Madrid out Madrid every team on their way to God knows. I don't even know what their UCL count is at point. Other news. Some quick, updates before we move on. So I'm gonna quickly run this down. As you see, it's a rapid rundown. So madness at Marseille. So Marseille executives, club presidents, so basically a bunch of representatives and stakeholders from the club have all resigned from their position. After some serious backlash from ultras. So this is an issue that goes beyond football. Thanks to VS for
Certainly.
pointing that out. We certainly want to cover this in detail because this story is, as the title says, it madness. Man. Like we won't be doing this justice if we just skip over it for a couple of minutes. The next news would be Germany in crisis. So I don't think anybody was surprised, but Germany fired Flick and they're replacing him with Nagelsmann after a series of disastrous results. I think they needed to show off the fans that they were doing something proactively ahead of Euro 24. So if anything, it's a reactionary move, but yeah, it's something that they had to do um, with a major tournament coming up. And lastly,
The
so
replacement is very interesting. It's
yeah,
Nagelsmann who's replaced Flick for Germany, whom I thought is a more club-oriented coach, who's
yeah,
a system coach. Because national teams, you usually have better man managers than coaches who heavily focus on one particular system. I'm not really sure how that's going to turn out.
and honestly, at this point, Nagelsmann should just follow Flick for what he wants to do with his career, man. That seems to be the trend anyway. Fun. So,
Yeah.
lastly,
So,
Qatar goes for a jewel. Again, this is a topic that was easily the talk of the summer, right? So, the whole Middle Eastern raid on European football and European elites getting offended almost, even though the same thing happens when, they do that with South America and whatnot. But we saw a lot of high profile marquee signings move over to the Middle East, mostly Saudi. I don't think there was a lot of major Qatari flavor to the heist that they pulled off during the transfer window. But it's safe to say this is one transfer that hurt all of us, in particular Barcelona, right? Because this guy was basically earmarked as somebody that we wanted to eventually replace Busquets. Um, right now, which Oriel Romeo does. Um, so yeah, this is. I mean, I don't want to comment on whether it's good or bad for football. I don't think it's my place, but we'll certainly dive deeper into this.
Yeah, just saying all three of these topics, I think we won't be able to do justice right now in such a short time. Uh, we'll probably will need special episodes in all three of these topics to go dive deeper. Also, just one interesting thing, I will take 10 seconds to say that it's not like Qatar did not do any interesting business. Guess who is playing in Qatar right now? Andres Iniesta.
Oh,
And do you remember Paco Alcacer?
oh yeah, Valencia, ex
Paco
Barca.
Alcacer and Andres
Damn.
Iniesta. Yeah. Paco Alcácer and Andres Iniesta are teammates again in Qatar.
Iniesta.
So yeah,
What
just
else does
some.
Iniesta have to do to get away from
I do
the
not
media?
know, but this was something interesting I came across. I thought it was relevant. We can move on now.
Cool. So that brings us to um, a quick look into what is in store. So for the football fans out there, so you have the North London Derby. That's this weekend, Sunday, 24th September, 6:30 p.m. That's a nice sweet time if you don't have a social life.
I hope
It
both
is.
teams lose.
That's like any like I would have bet my house that is what this guy was gonna say being a Chelsea fan. But then again, we have to borrow the same statement because, as you see, Sunday midnight, that's Monday, we are the Madrid derby, and now I hope these both teams lose. Cool. So we have our agenda sorted. We are wishing for
Should
teams
we
losing.
should we do
Yeah.
a quick prediction? Who do you think is winning
Oh
in
yeah.
NLD? VS and Chris.
I'm going
VS
for
can
a
go
draw,
first.
man.
Who's
I'm going for a draw. Ideally, a
I'm
high
going
scoring
Chris?
for
draw.
a
Let's say 2-2.
yeah. I'm going for a 2-2 as well.
2-2.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I am going, I think Arsenal are edging this out just by,
Fair
I think
enough.
it's something like 2-1.
Okay.
In Atletico, in one big match is the derby, Madrid derby. I think Real are winning that easily. Atletico aren't in a very good form. I think something like a 2-0 or 3-0 will
I
do it
predict
for
a red
Madrid.
card for Atletico.
Yeah, that is also a possibility.
Uh,
Gladbach and
I have
Leipzig will
always
be a
voted
goal
against
fest.
the odds when we said Tottenham Arsenal is going to be a 2-2 draw because it's usually a fixture of late that favors Arsenal, and given the run of form that they're in, they should win it. So I've already played against the odds, and I'm going to
Right.
keep that run by saying Atletico will edge this over Real Madrid. They're going to shithouse a win. I just feel like it.
Nice.
Okay. Let's hope that for the sake of all of us that you are right. Okay.
Yes.
Last week in pro wrestling, so that basically concludes our segments on cricket and football, and we're gonna take the last 15 or so minutes with pro wrestling. So this is very unfortunate because we did a special episode on the whole endeavor, UFC WWE merger, and that episode is getting released tomorrow. And we had shared that episode a while back, and one of the things that we figured was going to be a ramification of the whole deal going through is uh, talent cuts. So we had already seen that people at the executive level were being let go. But talent cuts, it obviously hits us more personally because these are superstars that we have come to, watch, celebrate, and cherish. And seeing them, disappear from our TV screens is not really ideal, both for us and, of course, for them. Um, just as we had, basically been speculating all week, um, as we are recording this, we are getting like literally a hour by hour update on major WWE stars actually being let go. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel right. I know that's the whole norm that's been going on everywhere, uh, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel right with WWE
Sort
because
of
I hadn't seen this.
juxtaposition, right? Chris, just it's a bit of a juxtaposition as well because they fired all these superstars. You can see the names here: Mustafa Ali, Emma, Rick Boogs, Alia, Elias, Riddick Moss, Top Dollar, Shelton Benjamin, and the biggest name I think in this
Yep.
list is Dolph Ziggler. All the while, there has been a return of Nia Jax. So it's a weird sort of juxtaposition, I would say. And as we are saying this, there are going to be further releases as well. There are rumors coming in that there are going to be releases from NXT, and I'm very scared about that. I love NXT in its current form. I like almost all of the superstars who are currently in NXT. So I am very apprehensive about that. Let's hope there are no major names which are getting released. But a sad day in
Yeah.
all around, really.
I think if there is any silver lining to any of this at all, and I know you would be shocked at this coming from me of all people, but AEW firing CM Punk means I would assume that uh, they have a nice little kitty there. Hopefully, they can absorb some of these talents.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think Dolph Ziggler will make his way over there. He's supremely talented. His brother already works for AEW, so I think he is the prime candidate to make the jump to AEW to elevate some of the younger talents.
Yeah,
I think Mustafa Ali as well, who is a superb
yeah.
athlete. He was
Those are
actually
two
doing very
names.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually doing very well at in NXT off late, but yeah, I think there are a few names which can conceivably just make the jump. Of course, the names getting released will have their 90 days no compete clause,
Uh,
so
yep.
no immediate jumps, but most likely it will happen in the coming months, 3 4 months, and there will be more releases as well, which we will update you guys about in the next
Yep.
episodes. Hopefully, we won't bring you any more names, although it's very unlikely.
Ooh. So, quickly moving on from that sour news, business should continue to run. But as one wise man once said, I'm just a spoke on the wheel. The wheel's gotta keep running, and that means the Raw, SmackDown, it was all business as usual of those places. Um, so, take it away. Thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. So big return, right? Nia Jax coming and destroying both Raquel Rodriguez and Mami Rhea Ripley in the main event in their championship match. As you can see in the picture, she does a banzai drop on Rhea Ripley,
Did
kayfabe
you just
injuring
refer to
her.
somebody as Mami?
Yeah,
Yes, that's how they refer to her in on the show actually because she's built like an Amazonian. Like fair enough. I uh, don't exactly blame them for doing that. Plus, it's also an addition you can directly ascribe to Vince McMahon, I feel. Yeah. So yeah. Apart from that, the standout in Raw in that episode was an absolute killer promo from Shinsuke Nakamura. I think ever since he has gone back to his speaking in his native Japanese
yeah.
and producing those subtitled videos, he's coming off like an
To
yakuza boss,
Right. Did
intent on destroying
WWE
Seth Rollins.
6 years or what? To figure out that you can take a guy who speaks Japanese instead of grossly underutilizing him, let him speak in his native language. We'll just add subtitles. Like in
Yeah,
hindsight, that is so
trust.
obvious.
Yeah, trust your audience to know how to read, right? Like should be the basic thing. I do not know how it took them so much time, but finally they have cracked the code, which has helped elevate the feud. I don't think Seth could have just carried the feud on by himself, doing the mic work. Shinsuke doing the promo work has been excellent in his native Japanese.
So safe to say that the ending of that Raw was controversial. Like it had people, split in teams, right? But things that went down in SmackDown, I think everybody was on the same page. Everybody went home happy. Uh, this is what I'm referring to. I'm just gonna skip to the SmackDown slide before coming back to the Raw one. If you some
Yeah, VS must be very happy. One of his favorites as well,
Yes.
Rock. I'm making a banger of a return, like
What do you mean? One of my
completely
favorites,
unexpected.
all-time favorite, the GOAT.
Yeah. Interestingly, he wasn't really advertised before the show. I don't think anyone in the arena actually knew he was going to come. Uh, and it's just an unexpected return after that match that he returned. they had an interesting segment with Austin Theory, which also speaks
I missed
to
the segment,
how
so I just want
high.
to ask you: was the segment electrifying?
It
Yeah, more than
was, it
electrifying.
was, it
My
was
God.
the most electrifying segment in all of that race SmackDown.
Thought as much.
Yeah,
Thought as much.
spine tingling really. And just to point something out here, the fact that they trusted Austin Theory to go toe to toe with The Rock just speaks to the fact that they, yeah, hold Austin Theory in very high
Yep.
regard. The guy has a huge future. He's just 26. He's going to keep growing, and looks to be going to be a future star in the company.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a slightly I think it qualifies for an unpopular opinion. So the way Austin Theory has been booked throughout his time is he's Vince's favorite poster child, and he gets into segment that he has no business in, and I by and large believe that to be true. I've seen him in the past with other legends, but I don't know if it's just natural evolution or he's really like gotten his shit together. But his mic work against Rock, who is arguably like top three, if not top two, or one of the best, wrestlers on the mic in the company. And Austin went toe to toe with him, and you know, if it weren't for nostalgia and Rock, with as CM Punk likes to refer his same old stick that he tries to captivate the audience with. If it weren't for that, I think Austin actually matched Rock pound for pound in that segment, man. I was absolutely, blown away in surprise as to how he carried himself in the segment. So I don't know. This
Yeah,
guy is one baby face turn away from really hitting
yeah.
that potential we all know he has.
Yeah. Moving on from that, we can focus on something else interesting which happened in the same episode. You had Styles and Balor, a match between Styles and Balor, which was a good match. Styles losing to Balor due to Jimmy Uso's interference. Then later in the night, as Cena was a guest in the Grayson Waller
Yes,
effect, he was getting about to get ganged up by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, and AJ Styles ran in to save John Cena. So we might get a tag team match between Cena and Styles versus Jimmy and Solo. Who would have thought it like 5 years ago that we'll get Cena and Styles teaming up. Also, another point I would like to mention here is Bailey and Asuka had a banger of a match in the SmackDown, and the next week it's going to be championship match. Asuka versus Io Sky. I hope they burn the house down because these are two of
nice.
my favorite wrestlers currently in the company. Some of the work which they have done over the past couple of years, in spite of their language barrier, has been
Yeah,
excellent. Hopefully, they will get to have your traditional Joshi uh, match, which they would have in a place like Stardom, for example. So
right.
hopefully, this match lives up to the hype. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
So I think we are pretty much on time. Just quickly, some other major updates from the subsequent Raw. I think Siampa beat this guy, Giovanni or Kaiser, which one of them he went up against. So he basically
Giovanni,
beat one of, huh, and I feel so bad for that guy. Kaiser has, the charisma and the mic skills to, you know, come out
yeah,
and
he keeps
he,
taking pins. He's
yeah,
the fall guy
weak
for
link, yeah,
Imperium.
Imperium. So that
Poor
means
guy.
Ciampa gets a title shot at likely to be the next champion
Likely,
for a
likely.
year.
It hasn't been confirmed
And
yet, but I think
yeah,
that's the direction they're going in, which is good for Champa. I think it's going to be a good match. First of all, Gunther does not have bad matches. Let's just make it very clear. Gunther is probably
yeah,
the best champion there. They currently have the most workhorse champion. He does not have bad
yeah,
matches. So, and Champa is himself a very good wrestler, so they are going to have a banger
Yeah.
whenever they do have that match. Apart from that, Nia Jax came and destroyed the women's tag division. Interestingly, I have no clue why. I know they're trying to push her as a monster again, but
Yeah.
we know that she is a monster. You don't have to destroy your tag division to make that point, in my opinion. Uh, also, the most interesting thing that happened in the show was a couple of teasers of heel turns. I think at some point of time we will see Kevin Owens turning heel as well. He already has certain disagreements regarding Jey Uso, regarding the presence of Jey Uso with Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes more accepting of Jey Uso and Kevin
Yeah.
Owens not being very happy about his presence. Neither is Drew McIntyre, as we saw in the main event. What I'll just give a small rundown of what happened. Drew McIntyre uh, and Jay also had a one match in the main event. Jay gets distracted by Judgment Day, I think, in as the match was progressing. Taking advantage of that, McIntyre hits him with a claymore, picks up the win. Then, as other members of Judgment Day rush on to beat up Jey Uso, McIntyre is present there. He turns his back and keeps walking away. So I think these are minor hints towards a possible McIntyre turn, and I think it's due. A heel
Yeah.
turn for McIntyre is long due, overdue. So it will be a cracking heel turn whenever it happens.
But I hope they just get it over with, man. Like, it's very obvious. Like, strike the iron while it's hot. There is no point dragging that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't dally it for very long. I hope like you said, the heel turn comes quick. But I hope they do turn him
Yeah.
heel. I think his mileage as a babyface has run out. It did
Hope
run
so.
out quite a while ago, and unfortunately, due to the issues, I think the original plan was for him to turn against this guy, original bro Matt Riddle. But due to Matt Riddle's issues, that hasn't happened. I hope it happens now against someone. Just have him beat up a bunch of people backstage.
Baby
That will be good
faces.
enough for
Yeah.
me.
Cool. So, rapid roundup again, this time with pro wrestling. Grand Slam for Becky. So, one of the four horsewomen, easily future Hall of Famer. It is long overdue. Who would have thought Becky would get to a Grand Slam before John fucking Cena? But that is exactly how things have went down. Truth is indeed
I
stranger
think
than fiction.
I think VS, you had a question, right? If it was a demotion.
I have two questions because this dude he asked me not trying to not to swear, and I hear him being comfortable in his skin and using swear words. That's my first question. Why am I not allowed to? And you are. Second question: wasn't Becky Lynch wasn't she supposed to be in like proper WWE contender? Why, doesn't it count as a demotion for her?
Yeah, so I will take the second question first because I see. Here's how I look at it. Becky Lynch has achieved everything she could. She has main evented WrestleMania. She has won every single title, the tag title, both the women's titles. I think this was the right time to give her that run with the NXT title. She didn't win it when she was there in NXT. Uh, if is it a demotion? Not really, because I don't think after this liver in time, you could have sent her back down to NXT. Like I don't think this particular win for Becky would have happened 1 year down the line. So I think right now was the correct call. Plus they have a few exciting youngsters coming up. Tiffany Stratton is great, by the way. If you guys haven't checked her match out with Becky Lynch for the title, do check it out. She's great. She has wrestled for 2 years and she's already quite excellent. So it elevates younger talent. Her holding that title is important, and making her a Grand Slam champion is also important because I think she's a shoehorn for the Hall of Fame. That is definite, and in my opinion, this just confirms the fact that Becky Lynch is the greatest of all time in the women's division. That's my
Yeah,
personal opinion,
yeah.
at
So
least.
it has more sentimental value more than demotion, right? So you look at
As
John
far as I
Cena,
know, it's
guy has.
status.
Yeah, let's just agree to disagree. It's funny that you should mention. So the context is VS used to be a pro wrestling fan like all of us growing up, but he stopped watching. Funnily, the last person that Becky beat before winning the title was actually Trish Stratus. So it was the symbolic passing of the torch of the legacy, right? So moving on, other major updates which involve the other promotion AEW, Jade Cargill. Dave, elevator which sell us on Jade Cargill. Why do you think her coming to the WWE is a big deal?
Yeah, so interesting again, like the juxtaposition, because when we actually heard the news that Jade Cargill is going to come to the WWE, we did not know of the releases. Now it's a bit of a downer, I would say, that they're offering Cargill a big contract while releasing wrestlers, which they didn't exactly need to release. They have record profits. But coming back to Cargill. She was the TBS champion for more than a year. She had a actually more than 1 year, sometime. I'm not exactly sure of the time span, but TBS championship is essentially the AW's mid card championship for women, and she
Right.
held that for a long time. She had an unbeaten streak, long unbeaten streak. Uh, she's a physical specimen, and of course, she has work to do in terms of character work, because we know it's not easy to connect with the WWE audience as a character, and I think WWE is the right platform for her in the sense that they will actually help her with the career. In AEW, sometimes it feels that they will throw you at the deep end and you have to figure it out for yourself. WWE is not like that. They will actually sit down with her and work with her on a character which can connect with the audience. And I think she will be more successful in
Yeah.
WWE than she was in
Mm.
AEW. And
So
it will
I think
be interesting to see her evolution.
I have one point here. So AEW, like, that's a brilliant point. They have the absolute necessity to throw stars into the deep water simply because the stage they are in as a company, right? They really have to go in and do their best. They have to try and outperform a WWE program that is been the best in the last 10, 15 years or so. WWE, on the other hand, record profits, things are going great. So they can afford the luxury of, giving superstars time to develop, which AEW unfortunately doesn't have. So really good for Jade on that front. And just looking at her, she's somebody who can go on to challenge Mami, Rhea Ripley, and I would believe it, right? So WWE has been lacking somebody like that. You do have people like Nia Jax, but that's not exactly like for like a physical matchup. Jade seems like somebody who can actually go on to beat her, and we would all be like, okay, that is believable. Something that we don't
Yeah,
have currently.
you need that believable challenger because you look at Rhea Ripley, you do not expect someone like I do not know Shotzi to beat Rhea Ripley. It just there's too much of a physical mismatch there.
Yeah.
But if Jade Cargill turns up on Raw and challenges Rhea Ripley, I'll go holy shit, yeah, this woman can legitimately kick Rhea Ripley's ass. So yeah, fair enough. Good deal all around.
So the last one, I think this was a personal favorite that I urged we include here. MJF, the poster boy of AEW, took a trip down the memory lane. So as you see on the right, it's basically an iconic Scott Steiner promo against Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle was the other person. It was a
No,
triple
it
threat.
wasn't. Yeah, it was Kurt Angle. Yes.
So where Scott goes on to do some absurd mathematics as to how it was a promo before the match. He does some absurd math to convince the audience why he will, emerge victorious. And years later, MJF is actually, at least at the time of this promo was going up against Samoa Joe. That is such a smooth callback, man. We have seen MJF do that time and again. He did the same thing with Samoa Joe, referencing to the time Joe pushed him back when he was in WWE. I absolutely love that from MJF. One of my favorite wrestlers. Like I at every opportunity that I've had the chance to say, I've come up and said that. And this
M-
promo was just
E-
yeah,
MJF is probably he is the talisman for AEW, and he
yeah,
shows that week in and week out. Apart from that, I see VS being very confused about what we are talking about. Don't worry, we will send you the Steiner Mat video,
yeah. We should
and
probably upload
once you
that on
see it,
social.
yeah, and once you see it, I want to hear your reaction about what you thought of Steiner Mat next week when we record the next episode.
Yeah, cool. That brings us to the last slide. Next week in pro wrestling, so we already covered this. Gunther likely going up against Ciampa and women's championship between Io Sky and Asuka. What next for Becky Lynch and Jade Cargill? I don't think she'll debut. Like you said, the general mood around the roster is not really great right now. I think introducing a talismanic signing as Jade Cargill is, in my opinion, is not the right time. We could see something similar to what they have done with Carlito. I think pretty much every report confirmed that he has signed with WWE. Like he has been signed for a couple of months, but absolutely no mention of him or whatsoever in any of the programs. So I see the deal would have been closed, but I would expect, I don't know, like night after a PPV before she makes her debut. I think that is all. That brings an end to a really happening week, especially in pro wrestling and football. I hope anyone watching had as much fun as we did covering these updates. That said, so tomorrow we'll be releasing our special episodes. CU specials are basically where we take one theme between any of the three sports and we cover that in detail instead of covering multiple sports like how we did today. Our special episode, the first one is going to be on the Endeavor deal, the WWE and UFC merger, and the implications that has for the entire sports entertainment world, right? So please do check that out. Thank you so much for tuning into this one. We'll be back again real soon.
Bye, guys.
See ya.